Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about the violent protests in West Bengal related to the Waqf Amendment Bill. Let's begin. Hello. Well, I am a global nationalist. I support nationalism in my country, India, and in all countries around the globe. Today I'm going to be talking about Indian nationalism with respect to current events. The topic for today is the West Bengal protests that have occurred against the Waqf Amendment Act passed this year. Um, what's happened is that on this earlier in the month, the central government passed the Waqf Amendment Act, and that is an act to amend the Waqf Amendment Act, the Waqf Act of 1995, which was passed by the then Congress government. And uh, there have been protests against this amendment by Muslim organizations in India, and a major protest broke out in West Bengal on Friday, 11th of April. And I want to discuss that protest because it became violent, unfortunately, and there was mass violence against infrastructure and innocent people. And I want to explain why I think that happened, and also talk about the act itself and how different people are viewing it. Uh, Before I begin, I want to say that I am not affiliated to the BJP, the TMC, or any political party. I am not a part of any political party, or nor have I got any money or given any money to a political party. I am just commentating my own opinions. And without further ado, let's get started. It's the Waqf Amendment Bill, of course, now it's become an act. It was a bill to amend the Waqf Act of 1995. And some important provisions are that uh, not that nothing in this act shall, notwithstanding any judgment, decree, or order of any court, apply to a trust by whatever name called, established before or after the commencement of this act, or statutorily regulated by any statutory provision pertaining to public charities by a Muslim for a purpose similar to Waqf under any law for the time being in force. So this applies only to properties that are exactly Waqf and not trusts that are similar to Waqf. And Section 3 of the Principal Act, the following sections shall be inserted, namely 3A. No person shall create a Waqf unless he is the lawful owner of the property and competent to transfer or dedicate such property. The creation of a Waqf al-Awlad shall not result in denial of inheritance rights of heirs, including women heirs of the Waqf or any other rights of persons with lawful claims. Every Waqf registered under this Act prior to the commencement of the Waqf Amendment Act through 2025 shall file the details of the Waqf and the property dedicated to the Waqf on the portal and database within a period of 6 months from such commencement. The details of the Waqf under subsection 1, amongst other information, shall include the following, namely the identification and boundaries of Waqf properties, the name, address of the creator of the Waqf, mode and date of such creation, the deed, the present Mutawali and its management, the gross annual income, etc. Any government property identified or declared as Waqf property before or after the commencement of this act shall not be deemed to be a Waqf property. If any question arises as to whether any such property is a government property, the state government may, by notification, designate an officer above the rank of collector who shall conduct an inquiry as per law and determine whether such property is a government property or not and submit his report to the state government. In case a designated officer determines the property to be a government property, he shall make necessary corrections in revenue records and submit a report in this regard to the state government. And the state government shall, on receipt of the report of the designated officer, direct the board to make appropriate correction in the records. I agree with this provision that government property should not be made as waqf, that Waqf should only be given by a person who owns their property, and nobody owns personally any government property, so Waqf shouldn't be given for such property. Any declaration or notification issued under this act or under any previous act in respect of Waqf properties shall be void if such property was a protected monument or protected area under the Ancient Monuments Preservation Act 1904 or the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 1958 at the time of such declaration or notification. Good idea. Like also another provision I agree with, that ancient monuments should not be made Waqf properties. This is an article from Swarajya, which is a right-wing magazine. It's called Waqf Upcall, a necessary end to exploitation disguised as religious endowment. It says that the Waqf Board of India is estimated at over having a wealth of over 1.2 lakh crores spread over 8.7 lakh properties, and that it is shrouded in opacity, mismanaged by self serving elites, and encroached upon with impunity while millions of Indian Muslims struggle for access to education, healthcare, and economic mobility. And this is not a hypothetical scenario, but a tragic reality of Waqf administration in India, the system that has long operated with minimal accountability under the archaic and deeply flawed Waqf Act of 1995. It says that this Waqf Amendment Bill 2025 is a clarion call for institutional reform, transparency, and equitable access to community resources. So we can see that the right believes that the Waqf Act originally caused exploitation of poor Muslims by wealthy elites, and that it was not transparent and needed reform. And the most glaring flaw in the act, according to this article, is its lack of transparency, particularly evident in Section 40, which grants Waqf boards the unilateral authority to declare any property as Waqf without any meaningful burden or of proof or independent adjudication. The provision has resulted in legal absurdities where Waqf boards have asserted claims over public and private properties with no historical or legal basis. The Tamil Nadu Waqf Board has made assertion of ownership over a 1,500-year-old Hindu temple, and the Uttar Pradesh Waqf Board's claim over Chandrasekhar Azad Park, a public place space of national significance, serve as egregious examples of the arbitrary and unchecked powers conferred upon these bodies. Yeah, so this is yeah, this is worrisome, and I don't think that you can make a Hindu temple Waqf property since it's from a different religion. Waqf should only be of Muslim property since it's for Muslims. And yeah, the Waqf board should not be claiming ownership of public parks. So yeah, I agree with Rajya that this section needed to be removed, and which is why I'm glad that the amendment removed this section. This is what the Wire says about the bill, that The union government on Tuesday filed a caveat in the Supreme Court seeking a hearing before the top court passes orders on petitions challenging the constitutionality of the act. That the Modi government has said the amended legislation will usher in transparency in administration of Waqf bodies and properties. This article says that various opposition parties, on the other hand, have called the legislation an encroachment on minority rights in an attempt to divide society. Political parties are among the over 10 petitioners who have challenged the law's validity in the Supreme Court. And Chief Justice Sanjeev Khanna said on Monday that he would take a decision on listing the petitions. And that, so we have to see what the petitions, what the court says. So we can see that the left disagrees with it, uh, saying that it's an encroachment on minority rights, but I disagree. I think it doesn't hurt the minority in any meaningful, in any way. It's actually pro poor and common Muslims. Bengal anti-Waqf protests, three have been killed, 150 arrested. The BJP claims Hindus fleeing homes. Several people were seen fleeing West Bengal's Mushirabad by boat, attempting to cross the river into neighboring Malda in search of safety as violent protests against the Waqf Act continued even on Sunday. They began on Saturday and continued on Sunday. Paramilitary forces are conducting patrols through deserted streets. The district remains tense following the violent protests triggered by the Waqf Act. In response to escalating unrest, the Calcutta High Court ordered the deployment of paramilitary forces in the district's most sensitive areas. In the aftermath of violent protests, visuals surfaced showing residents fleeing Murshidabad by boat. And three people have been killed, two by rioters and one person in firing from the police. On Sunday, authorities arrested 12 more people following overnight raids, bringing the total number of arrests to 150. So, those are the facts of the matter. Now, how do I view this from a nationalist perspective? The Waqf Amendment Act will help stop encroachment of Hindu properties and national government owned properties by the Waqf board, and it will bring transparency as to who really owns these properties that are given to the board, and the any properties that are given to the board will now be able to come under court purview. So disputes can be solved in the judiciary, not just in the Waqf board, which will help people get justice. And yeah, so I agree with the act, and I think it's good for the nation. It will prevent religious disputes between Hindus and Muslims and can bring transparency for Muslims in their religious life. But I do know that Muslims have some reservations, criticism of the amendment because it allows non-Muslims to work in the Waqf board, and that there are separate boards for the Bohras and other Muslim castes or communities, which I disagree with. I think there should be only one Muslim Waqf board. It's not good to make separate boards based on ethnic or different identities. It's divisive. And but I'll be waiting for the Supreme Court to make its judgment before talking about it. What's very worrisome is the violence in Bengal because Bengal is a border state. A lot of Bangladeshi immigrants have illegally immigrated into West Bengal, and I fear that TMC under Mamata Banerjee is not acting to arrest these illegals and get them deported, which is what the or not deported, but they're supposed to arrest them, and then the central government is supposed to deport them. And also, the BJP government at the center has to do more to strengthen the border security in the Bangladesh India border to prevent illegal immigration. And the fact that there's violence of riots, something I completely condemn. People can protest any legislation or action by the government, but they cannot riot. You cannot attack uh, public property or private property. You cannot attack people. Like two people were killed, and one person was killed in police firing. I don't know if that was a legitimate case of police use or was it police brutality. I think that case will go on and we'll find out the truth. Now, it must be said that the people committing violence are not representative of the Muslim community in Bengal or India, and they are just few radicals. Most Muslims, like most Hindus, are peaceful, and only a minority are violent. So, yes, I think it's not good for the nation when communities are rioting against each other and are being violent. We need peace, communal harmony, and I hope the state of Bengal can bring that together. And if they cannot manage law and order, if Mamata Banerjee is allowing and sanctioning violence against Hindus, then I think that the central government should consider at least bring it under president's rule. But ultimately, that's not something I know for sure what to do. So yeah, I won't say much about that. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Um, Please share your thoughts in the comment section. If you want to see other videos about Indian nationalism with respect to current events, click here. If you want to see my previous video, click here. If you want to see the sources I used for this video, click the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.